Hey guys, welcome to my Week 13 NFL Best Bets video. We'll be breaking down every single game on Sunday of Week 13 for the NFL football season. We'll be looking at the betting portion, so the spreads, the money lines, and the over-under picking who's going to win, who's going to lose, and what we predict the final score will be. So just kind of kicking things off, we'll just follow up looking at the Dallas Cowboys game. So Dallas did beat Seattle. They won 41-35. That game was a shootout, but props to the Dallas Cowboys for getting the win there. Dak Prescott had 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. And Geno Smith had a pretty good game. He had 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 pick. But picking things up starting on Sunday, kicking things off at 1 p.m. on CBS, we have the 6-5 Colts at the 4-7 Tennessee Titans. The Colts are 1-point favorites on the road here, and the over-under is 42.5. So the Colts will be starting Gardner Minshew at quarterback. Titans will be starting the rookie Will Levis at quarterback. Obviously, Anthony Richardson and Ryan Tannehill are both out for the season. Ryan Tannehill is not really any loss because he wasn't very good. But Tennessee mainly still has Derrick Henry. That's their biggest thing. They play really good defense. They run the ball. So they'll be seeking basically to be running the ball down the Colts' throat. For the Colts, they have one of the best running back rooms in the country. But Jonathan Taylor, as of right now, is not supposed to be playing Sunday. So that's a pretty big loss there. So you have the Colts coming in with Minshew, but they still have Zach Moss. So they will be looking to establish the run. Tennessee, though, has a very good D-line, so they'll be looking to shut Moss down and force Minshew into third and long situations where he is prone sometimes to make a couple mistakes. When you look at the team stats here, Colts, they average 24.5 points per game. Tennessee, 16.8 points per game. So obviously pretty lopsided on offense. But on defense, the Colts, they give up 24.4 points per game, and Tennessee gives up 20.4 points per game. When you're looking at this game, obviously the offense favors the Colts, but Jonathan Taylor is out. So I have Tennessee relying on their defense, shutting down the Colts' run game, forcing Gardner Minshew to throw, and a steady dose of Derrick Henry running the ball right at the Colts. I have Tennessee getting the win here, so I'm going to go with the +1. I have Tennessee winning 20-17, and I'm going with the under. The next game that we'll be looking at 1 p.m. on CBS is the 4-7 Chargers visiting the 2-9 New England Patriots. Chargers are 5.5-point favorites here, and the over-under is 40.5. So obviously the Chargers, the head coach is definitely on the hot seat. If they lose this game, he will for sure be fired after this game. They have to win this game. They're still technically in the run for the playoffs, but they need to go on a long winning streak to try to get back to 500 to try to make a good run to get into the playoffs. It's probably not going to happen. No matter what, he's probably going to get fired after the year ends. But as of right now, they need to be fighting. They have a lot to play for. Fight for the playoffs, and they have a really good offense led by Herbert. They have Eckler. They have Keenan Allen. For the Patriots, they have absolutely nothing to play for. What's the reason of even trying to win any games? Throw the games. Don't be competitive. Get a top 5 pick, potentially a number 1 or number 2 pick, and draft Caleb Williams or Drake May. Set yourself up for the future. Chargers have everything to play for. Patriots have absolutely nothing to play for. They're very smart. Bill Belichick is not stupid. They need to make sure they do not win these games. Get the quarterback of the future there in New England. Like we said, Chargers have a lot of playmakers. When you look at the team stats here, Chargers average 24.5 points per game. The Patriots, a lowly, pathetic 13.5 points per game. That's why getting a new quarterback is so important. On defense, Chargers, they give up 23.5. New England gives up 22.5. When you're looking at the quarterback matchup, you obviously have Herbert. It's not his fault. They're 4-7. He's playing very well. And then New England is going to either start Mac Jones or Zappe. It doesn't really matter. They're both not good. They need to lose this game. I have the Chargers cruising to a win here. They better win this game. If they lose this game, that's completely pathetic. But I have the Chargers winning 24-14, covering the spread, but I'm going to go with the under. The next game that we have at 1 p.m. on Fox, we have the 8-3 Detroit Lions versus the 5-6 New Orleans Saints. Detroit, 4.5-point favorites here on the road. Over-under is 46.5. So the Lions, they've kind of not been playing too well the last 3 weeks. They did lose this past week on Thanksgiving. They need to get things back on track. They had a lot of fumble issues. They still have a very talented team. They have Jared Goff, they have Montgomery at running back, and they have Brown at wide receiver. For the Saints, obviously, they do have one of the better rosters. They have a very solid defense, but Derek Carr is very limited as of right now. He seems to kind of be on the backslide, getting worse every single season. He's a good quarterback, but he's completely fallen apart the last 2 to 3 years. The guy cannot throw past 5 yards. Looking at the team stats here, you have the Lions. They average 26.7 points per game, so they have a very solid top 10 offense. And New Orleans, they average 20.8 points per game on defense. That's where the Lions' issue has been for the last few weeks. They did have a top 10 defense, but they haven't been playing up to par for the last few weeks, so they need to get that right. But they give up 23.5 points per game. New Orleans has a very solid defense. They give up 20.2 points per game. So obviously the Lions are the favorite on the road here. I do have them getting the win. I have them winning 24-17, covering the spread, but I'm going to go with the under. If you've noticed this season, a lot of NFL games have been going under. But to be honest, this has been a pretty sloppy quarterback year for the whole league. The next game that we'll be looking at 1 p.m. on Fox, we have the 5-6 Atlanta Falcons versus the New York Jets, who sit at 4-7. The Jets are on a losing streak right now. They were on a winning streak, but it was a complete farce because they have absolutely no offense. The Falcons are 2-point favorites here, and the over-under is 33.5. So Vegas has this as a very low-scoring game, and you definitely see why. So when you look at the Falcons here, they have a lot of offensive weapons. They have Bijan Robinson, they have Kyle Pitts. Problem is quarterback. So whether it's Desmond Ridder starting or whether it's someone else, they have a lot of issues at the quarterback position. They definitely need to be looking for a quarterback of the future. If they had a decent to average quarterback, this team right now is probably, 7-4, roughly, or maybe 6-5. Point is, they'd be a whole lot better. The main thing that they're missing is the quarterback position, and that's also the issue with the Jets. So the Jets technically have a top 10 defense. Problem is the offense cannot buy first downs at all. They have an atrocious offense. It's probably not as bad as the Patriots, but it's pretty dang bad. They are actually all pretty bad. So with the Jets, they will be starting either Boyle, who has 1 touchdown and 3 picks so far this year, or Zach Wilson. Doesn't really matter who they start. They're both not very good. Looking at the team stats here, the Falcons, they average 19.4 points per game, and the Jets a god-awful 14.8 points per game. On defense, the Falcons give up 21.1 points per game, and the Jets give up 21.6 points per game. Don't let that number fool you. The defense is on the field the whole game. So you definitely see why the Falcons are the favorite on the road here. And I have the Falcons winning this game 20-17. So I have them covering the spread, and I'm also going to go with the over. The next game at 1 p.m. on CBS, we have the 2-10 Arizona Cardinals versus the 7-4 Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are 5.5-point favorites here, and the over-under right now is 41.5. The Cardinals, obviously, they have Kyler Murray back at quarterback. He's played, I'd guess, maybe 50-50, some good plays, some bad plays, but the guy's pretty rusty. He hasn't played in a while, but he has been back for about 3 weeks now. So they do have their main quarterback back. The thing with the Cardinals is, do they want to win? Do they want to be competitive? Are they just shopping Murray as trade bait for the offseason? Are they trying to not play very well to get a top 5 pick so they can draft another quarterback? Or are they actually trying to build this team around Kyler Murray? Kyler Murray has a lot of off-the-field issues with coaches, but we'll have to wait to see. It's just we don't know what we're getting with the Cardinals because we don't know what their plans are for the future. As of right now, it looks like they are actually trying to win and build around Kyler Murray. Will that be successful? I don't know. For the Steelers, they are 7-4, but the fact that they're 7-4 is pretty impressive because they also have horrible quarterback play that's holding this team back, but they have a very solid defense led by TJ Watt. They will be rolling out Kenny Pickett at quarterback. He's nothing to be proud about. He has 2,000 yards, 6 touchdowns, 4 picks. Looking at the team stats here, the Cardinals, they average 17.2 points per game. Pittsburgh, 16.5 points per game. So both teams have pretty bad offenses. But on defense, the Cardinals give up a whopping 26.8 points per game. So they cannot stop anyone. And then Pittsburgh, very solid defense for their team refusing to score. They give up 18.6 points per game. So they are pretty even on offense. They're both not good, but Pittsburgh has by far the solid defense. Pittsburgh is also going to be at home. They have that in their favor. I have Pittsburgh winning this game 24-20. So I'm going to go with the plus 5.5. So I don't have them covering that spread, but I am going to go with the over. At 1 p.m. on Fox, we have the 8-3 Miami Dolphins visiting the 4-8 Washington Commanders. Miami is a massive 9.5 point favorites here. The over-under is 49.5. With the Dolphins, obviously they have one of the best offensive rosters in the league. They have Tua, Hill, Waddle, Berrios, Mostert. Now, a couple of the guys are questionable this weekend, but as of right now, they are all playing. So they're going to come in here with, I think it's the number 2 offense in the NFL right now. They can run it, they can throw it, and their defense has actually been playing pretty well for the last 2 to 3 weeks. And their D-line has really been shutting down teams' rushing attack. So the Dolphins have a lot in their favor right now. With the Commanders, they have absolutely nothing in their favor right now. They just fired Jack Del Rio. Sorry, Ron Rivera. That's not going to save your job. You've been there for 5 years now. You've not been good any of those 5 years. He should have been fired a long time ago. The fact that he made 5 years is pretty impressive. But no matter what, he's on his way out. So the Commanders have a lot of holes. They have a defense that has a lot of holes. They give up a lot of points. But don't overlook Washington, because this team is very flip-floppy. They play really competitive, win a close game, and then they get steamrolled and train wrecked the very next weekend. But they do have Sam Howell. Sam Howell actually leads the league in passing yards. So he can get into a shootout. To beat the Dolphins, you have to be capable of outscoring them. Sam Howell can technically do that. He does get sacked a lot. He does get hit a lot. So he's going to have a lot of pressure, but he's capable of making some big throws. Looking at the team stats here, the Dolphins average 30.8 points per game. Washington, 20.5 points per game. And on defense, Miami gives up 22.8 points per game, and Washington a horrible 29.2 points per game. So there's obviously going to be a lot of room for the Dolphins to score. I have the Dolphins getting the win here in this game. I have them winning this one 31-20. So I have them covering that spread, and I'm also going to go with the over. Then at 1 p.m. on CBS, we have the 6-5 Denver Broncos riding a 5-game winning streak versus the 6-5 Houston Texans. Houston is 3.5 point favorites here, and the over-under is 47.5. So when we're looking at this game, obviously Denver, Russell Wilson, he's having a very serviceable year, very efficient year. They're not giving up too many points. He's not throwing for very many yards, but he's being efficient. He's throwing for touchdowns, and he's not throwing picks. But the guy's only throwing for like 150 yards per game. That's fine, but that's not going to help you versus good teams that can and are willing to get involved in shootouts. At some point, he's going to have to step up, throw for 250, 300 yards. It's fine that it's gotten them a 5-game winning streak, but at some point, it's bound to fail, and they're going to lose a game. Statistically, it's due to happen soon because they're on a 5-game winning streak. For the Texans, they just lost this past weekend to the Jags. They obviously have C.J. Stroud. He is the offensive rookie of the year. This guy can sling it everywhere. They have a very good offensive roster right now. Looking at the teams, Denver, they score 22.4 points per game. Houston, 23.5 points per game. Denver gives up 25.5 points per game. But that's kind of screwed there because they gave up 70 to the Dolphins. And Houston, they give up 21.1 points per game. I'm going to go. So looking at the spread here, like I said, Houston 3-point favorites, over under 47.5. I have Houston getting the win here, 28-24, covering the spread. And I'm also going to go with the over. This is a pretty evenly matched game, but I think that Denver is just due for a loss. Then at 4:05 on CBS, we have the 1-10 Carolina Panthers versus the 4-7 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay 5-point favorites here. Over-under is 36.5. This is kind of an odd midday game because both teams are having pretty bad years. When you're looking at the Panthers here, obviously they have Bryce Young. Head coach just got fired. The Panthers are in complete disarray. They fired Matt Rule last year. They fired their new head coach this year in Week 13. Why do you hire the guy if you're going to fire him Week 13? That shows zero patience, 0. I mean, they're having a very bad year, but what did they expect was going to happen? You can't fire someone year one when you just fired the other guy. So they've now fired 2 coaches within 12 calendar months. That just lets you know where the Panthers are right now. But is it going to make them any worse? No, because they were losing every single week anyway, so it doesn't really matter. For Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield, he's having a pretty good year. He's not the reason that they're 4-7. He's having a very serviceable year. He's not doing anything to win them games, but the main thing is he's not doing anything to lose them games. But it's going to be Bryce Young versus Baker Mayfield. Looking at the team stats here, Panthers, they average 15.7 points per game. Tampa Bay, 19.3 points per game. So Tampa Bay has the edge on offense. And the Panthers have one of the worst defenses. They give up 26.5 points per game. Tampa Bay has a very solid defense, a very solid D-line. They will put a lot of pressure on Bryce Young. They give up 20.6 points per game. So like we said, the Buccaneers are 5-point favorites here. I have Tampa Bay getting the win here. They at least have something to play for. Getting back to 500, Panthers have absolutely nothing to play for right now. They don't even get a top draft pick. I have Tampa Bay winning 27-17. Covering the spread, and I'm also going with the over. At 4:25 p.m. on Fox, we have the 7-4 Cleveland Browns on the road versus the LA Rams, who sit at 5-6. Rams are 3.5-point favorites here. The over/under is 40.5. The Browns, obviously, they are without Chubb. They are without Watson, so they'll be starting Thompson Robinson at quarterback. He hasn't done very much so far. He has 429 yards, 1 touchdown, 4 picks. So that obviously puts the Browns defense in a precarious position because they will potentially be on the field the entire game. When that happens, you're bound to give up points. It's not your fault. You can't get 3 and outs every single possession. For the Rams, they have Stafford. Cooper Kupp supposedly supposed to be back playing right now, so they have Cooper Kupp and they have Nakua. Stafford can sling the ball, so this team is definitely capable of scoring some points. Looking at the team stats here, Cleveland, they average 21.7 points per game, but a lot of that was with Deshaun Watson, and the Rams, they average 21.1 points per game. On defense, Cleveland, they give up 19.0 points per game, but they do have one of the better defenses, a top 5 defense, and the Rams give up 21.3 points per game. Look for the Rams to be getting a lot of pressure on Thompson Robinson this game. They're going to be hitting him nonstop. And the Browns, the fact that they're 7-4 is a testament to this team, because all of their star players, they keep losing. They're going to lose some defensive starters this weekend. I have the Rams getting the win here. I have them winning 23-14. So I have them covering that spread, but I'm actually going to go with the under. I think the Browns defense should be able to keep this game respectable. One of the best games of the year so far coming up at 4:25 p.m. on Fox. The 8-3 San Francisco 49ers visiting the 10-1 Philadelphia Eagles. The 49ers are 3-point favorites here, and the over-under is 47.5. So this is Brock Purdy versus Jalen Hurts. Looking at the team stats here, this is 2 of the most talented rosters in the country. You have the 49ers. They average 28.2 points per game. The Eagles also average 28.2 points per game. So these offenses basically cancel each other out. On defense, that's where things change. The 49ers give up 15.5 points per game, so they have a top 3 defense. Philadelphia gives up 22.4 points per game. That's, I guess, average to below average. Thing with the Eagles is they are 10-1, but Jalen Hurts has had some pretty sloppy first halves. But they've been able to beat teams up second half and outscore them. But at some point, that's bound to catch up with you. Some team is going to be ready to play first half. They're going to have a big lead going into halftime, and their defense will be good enough to keep you from being able to just run the score up second half and catch up and beat them. So that's why the 49ers are the favorites here on the road. I have San Francisco winning this game 24-21. So I have them getting the push right now, but I am going to go with the under. I'm going with this game being a low-scoring game, but a lot of people have it, 35-30 and stuff like that. So it can definitely end up being a shootout, but I'm going to go with the 49ers defense coming to play, but also with the Eagles defense playing surprisingly well this game. But no matter what, this game has a lot of playoff implications. Then at 8:20 p.m. on NBC, we have the 8-3 Kansas City Chiefs, who finally got the offense going this past weekend, versus the 5-6 Green Bay Packers. The Chiefs come into this game as 7-point favorites here, and the over-under is 42.5. For this game, you have Patrick Mahomes. His team's been dropping a lot of balls this year. They have Butterfingers, but he still has Travis Kelce. He still has Pacheco at running back, and he's still Patrick Mahomes, and they have a top 3 defense right now. For the Packers, they have Jordan Love, who has actually been playing really well the last 5 weeks. He's been throwing for a lot of yards, and he's not been throwing picks. That's the main thing. Patrick Mahomes closing in on 3,000 yards, 21 touchdowns, 9 picks. Jordan Love closing in on 2,600 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 10 picks. For the team stats here, Kansas City, they average 23.3 points per game. Green Bay, they average 21 points per game. So this is not the Chiefs' offense of old, but their defense, like I said, is really good. They only give up 16.5 points per game. But Green Bay also has a pretty decent defense. They only give up 20.4 points per game. This game could go either way because this is not a Chiefs juggernaut team. They're not going to win the Super Bowl this year, but they're still a really good team. They just need to get some weapons at wideout. No matter what, I have the Chiefs getting the win 27-20. Since the spread is 7, I have the push there, but I am going to go with the over. But I definitely think that line is going to drop as the game gets closer. So once it drops, then the Chiefs will be covering the spread. And then finally, our Monday night game at 8:15 on NBC, the 5-6 Cincinnati Bengals versus the 8-3 Jacksonville Jaguars. Jags come into this game. They are 8.5-point favorites here. The over-under is 38.5. There's not much to say here. So the Bengals are without Joe Burrow. That's a massive loss. They're probably not going to win this game, but they are going to be starting Jake Browning out of Washington. He actually had a pretty decent game this past weekend, but the Jags, their main issue was Trevor Lawrence started the year really slow, but the last 2 weeks he has thrown for over 300 yards each game, so he's finally gotten the passing game going. That's a big boost for the Jaguars because that's been the main thing holding them back. Looking at the team stats here, the Bengals come in, they average 19.3 points per game, Jacksonville 23.1 points per game, and on defense, Cincinnati gives up 22.0 points per game, Jacksonville 20.5 points per game. Obviously, the Jags, they still have weapons. They have Trevor Lawrence, they have Etienne Jr., they have Ridley. Bengals have Chase at wide receiver, so they have a primary number 1 threat. Jake Browning is actually a pretty decent backup quarterback, but the Jags should definitely win this game at home. They're not playing Joe Burrow. Beat the Bengals when they're missing their best player. Take advantage of that loss. I have Jacksonville winning this game pretty handedly, 27-17, covering the spread, and I'm going with the over. So that's my breakdown of the Sunday best bets for Week 13. On the buys, we have the Bills, Bears, Raiders, Vikings, Giants, Ravens. Hit that like button and subscribe. If you have any opinions on these games, drop it in the comments below, and I will respond. Thanks.